Mac, for the first time as a father, may I speak to you as a father?
Sure.
I viewed the movie Up. And
Oh, okay.
once again, you know this. Everyone knows this. The first 10, 12 minutes of the movie, you're going to piss tears. There's
Yeah,
no way around this.
right.
You could be an old person, a young person, a father, anything at all. In that 12 minutes, the first 12 minutes, maybe the greatest short film of all time.
It might be. It might
Yes.
be.
But what gets me now, what really gets to me now
Mm-hmm.
is Russell's backstory
Yeah,
of his father that wants nothing to do with him.
right. That's why he clings on to the old man so much.
But what makes that more upsetting too is that Fredrickson's going to die soon and he's right back in the same situation.
I know, but it's finally his chance to be a father figure. That's why it worked so well. You have traditionally sort of put Up down in the pantheon of Pixar movies
I
in
never
the same
put it. No.
in the
It
same
was
way.
top 3, top 4 for me.
Oh, all right. All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So when we talk about Up, it just seems like you put it, you don't give it its
You know what? I think that I always thought like, okay, they have these super heavy moments, but then they go up against these super silly moments like the dogs and all that stuff too.
It's a super fun movie too.
It's very fun, so it has stuff for kids, but then
Yeah.
also those layers with the father-son stuff, really playing with the adults.
How did Raffi take to it?
He didn't love it.
Okay. All
I
right.
know.
Yeah.
But what are you gonna do? It hit more for me, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, fair enough. Goo, are you wearing a McDonald's sweatshirt?
Yes.
What a sweatshirt. I'm jealous of that. I like that.
Should I have worn Pepsi for this next movie?
Oh God. God.
One, goo, three, yeah. Goo. Jaws 3. Goo. King of Queens. Goo. Meryl Streep. Entertainment.
I'm Goo.
And I'm Madam Mac.
Whoa.
Macdom
Whoa.
Webb.
Want to start over?
Mad Mac Webb.
That doesn't make
I
any
don't know.
sense.
Macdom Webb.
And we are the Mac and Goo program. We bring you friendship.
Yeah, and today we're bringing you. I think this is a first in Mac and Goo history. This review, this for me, there have been movies you have borderline hated, and movies I have borderline hated. I don't think we have simultaneously been this low on a movie ever.
Don't. But don't say love hate because
listen.
Love
you can
this
get
movie.
into the nuances of it. I might think you're a fucking idiot as we go on here today. But this is at least a first for me. The only other time I have gone to the theater for this podcast and wanted to leave the theater was Hellboy, the 2018 release.
2019, something like that.
I, at one point in this movie, we're talking about Madam Webb.
Madam Webb, by the way, guys.
Caught on to that. I actually took out my phone because I needed to vent. I tweeted. I had to tweet. I had no one to talk to because there was 4 people in the theater. This is a first for me today. This is a first in Mac and Goo history for Mac, anyways.
My wife texted me earlier. One of her coworkers is like, "Oh, what did he think of Madam Webb?" So I sent it to her. I'm like, "Oh, it's ridiculous, but the last 30 minutes is amazing." And what Dana didn't realize what I meant by that is it's ridiculous throughout and it's amazingly bad at the end.
Yeah.
So now I'm assuming her coworker thinks I'm a fucking idiot.
Yes. You set yourself up for that.
I guess I did.
I also think we've talked about this movie briefly now. We haven't gone into it. You saw it a day or two ago. I saw it day after Valentine's
I saw
Day.
it last night and I can't stop thinking about it.
This is I'm ready for this conversation because when I left the theater, I was like, that might be the worst movie I've ever seen in theaters. And after 2 days, I was like, that might be the worst movie I've ever seen, period.
The final 30-ish minutes of this movie, I had my hands over my head the entire time going, no way.
I would say
the
final 15 to 20 had some so bad it was good. And that was it for me. You seem to have peaked a little bit more.
Yeah, we go to Peru. I'm all in.
Goo, Madam Webb is the 4th installment in Sony's Spider-Verse, Sony versus most people.
Just really quickly, the family sitting in front of me, the mother asked the 2 kids, she's like, "Oh, so this is a Marvel movie?" And they go, "Yes, but it's not." And the mother got so confused and kind of angry.
Yeah, just like Dakota Johnson, seemingly.
Yeah.
Dude, the other three before this have been the two Venom movies, Venom and Venom Let There Be Carnage. And of course,
Venom.
Morbius, who there are people on the internet that believe Morbius is the worst movie of all time. Dude, Morbius is like way better than this.
But I got way more enjoyment out of this.
Oh, I did not. I did not at all.
Also, is Venom good? After seeing this, is Venom good?
The first Venom is solid, I would say. The second Venom is not good. Morbius is bad.
What if the tease to this movie was you thought Venom was bad?
Dude, Madam Web is a PG-13 action adventure and sci-fi with a runtime of 116 minutes, and it feels like 3 hours. For a movie under 2 hours,
my phone
it feels
constantly.
like 3. It is.
I was having fun with some of the dumb stuff during the boring parts, yet I was checking my phone.
The first 40 minutes takes an hour and a half. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah.
On Rotten Tomatoes right now, Goo, this has 13% from the critics, 55% from the audience.
Which, let's be honest, it should be zeros. let's be honest. And Bucky Larson wants to be a porn star is at 1%. This is worse than that.
This, in relation to the rest of the Sonyverse, Venom was 30%, 80%. Let There Be Carnage was 57% and 84%. That makes no fucking sense.
Well, do you think it got high points for being the loudest?
I just think people were happy to see Carnage, and then they, 2 weeks later, they're like, "Oh, we really didn't."
They
like
see what
that.
Woody Harrelson did with that character.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Morbius, Goo, from 2 years ago, 2022. Again, some people say is the worst comic book movie of all time. 15%, 71%. And what I'll say about Morbius is, it's a bad movie. It didn't. I don't feel like it went out of its way to be bad like this movie does. It was just a straight up bad movie.
Morbius 2, you felt like if it came out during a different time,
it
would have been
cool.
decent. It just came out like 20 years too
And
late.
I feel like Jared Leto in that actually did a decent job. I can't
he
say
did.
that about any of the leads in this.
He didn't.
Yeah,
but
I
also,
think he did a decent job.
I thought he sucked.
No,
But
he was fine.
I can't think of a time or place or television network where if this came out, anyone says this is good.
No, there's not a time, a place. There's not a human being that should like this. So again, that Rotten Tomatoes score is insane.
The
Metacritic numbers
people on Rotten Tomatoes tell you that you're stupid.
On Metacritic, this has a 27. I don't know if we've ever talked about a movie below 30. We've talked about some movies in 30s. I'll have to look up what Hellboy was. I'm sure that was pretty low. Venom got a 35. Carnage, the second Venom movie, got a 47. Again, it makes no sense. Morbius got a 35. So the critics weren't too far off between Venom and Morbius, and that seems kind of dumb. But again, once we hit COVID, that all the Rotten Tomatoes numbers got skewed. This movie is written by, and we're going to spend a long time, pretty much every instance we're talking about something bad in this movie, it comes back to writing. Some of it is acting, but most of it is writing. There's 4 writers credited on this movie. So they should have all, I don't know, they should have all somehow tried to come up with pen names here. There's a writing duo here, Matt Sazama.
It's all Alan Smithy. We have 4 Alan Smithies on this project.
Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless. They are a writing team. Together, they have written Dracula Untold, The Last Witch Hunter, Gods of Egypt, Power Rangers. That was 2017's Power Rangers.
Yeah.
They got like secondary on that. It was story by, not screenplay by. That is the best thing in this. They also created the Netflix Lost in Space series that did okay, but no one really watched it. And they also were the writing team on Morbius. The highest Rotten Tomato audience score out of all of those, Morbius at 71%.
So I know that you said you have to look at it and say, let's blame the writers, but I would say look at Sony in general more than these writers, because maybe they crafted something half decent and they got noted to death.
Yeah, you might be right about that. Or everyone at Sony didn't see Morbius and just thought it was a success and signed these guys back up.
I'll also say this, though, is that the writers knew what they were getting into. It feels like the actors were all told that they were in an actual MCU movie and they were lied to.
The critic scores are on Rotten Tomatoes. The highest one outside of Power Rangers is 25%. So I would say this duo is probably done writing movies, maybe ever. This is a historically bad run.
Right until Kraven the Hunter 2.
Yeah. The other 2 writing credits went to Claire Parker, whose only writing credit is this.
Is that
And
Peter's aunt?
She worked on this movie because she worked with the director/writer S.J. Clarkson on a show called Mistresses, which S.J. Clarkson was the creator of.
Was
The
it
director,
sexy?
Goo, S.J. Clarkson, has done only television stuff up until this point. She's directed a million episodes of things: Heroes, Dexter, Orange is the New Black, Jess Jones, The Defenders, Succession, Anatomy of a Scandal. So she's done a lot of good stuff.
And my hands up. The quality of this movie is worse. Like, it looks worse than all of these shows.
Yeah, this is everything. Everyone in this movie did a bad job.
If you had told me, like, and people joke about this a lot, that it looks like CW quality, this legit looked like early 2000s CW. 2003 CW.
The movie set in 2003 and it feels like it was made in 2003.
But for television and for the CW.
It
Was
is
WB at the
it is
time?
of the
It was WB.
It is of the Daredevil Elektra vein. It like that's sort of the feeling the vibe you get from this movie. Goose synopsis. Cassandra Webb is a New York City paramedic who begins to demonstrate signs of clairvoyance. Forced to challenge revelations about her past, she needs to safeguard 3 young women from a deadly adversary who wants them destroyed. Destroyed is a weird word to use there. This movie, Goo, stars...
Who wants them obliterated.
Stars, for lack of a better term, Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, the titular Madam Webb. Sydney Sweeney as Julia Cornwall.
I had no idea that was her. The girl had overalls and a pigtail.
Did she have overalls? I don't think she just had like a mini skirt.
And like
and
two scenes, she had overalls, but still.
Okay. Isabela Merced as Anya
Glasses.
Corazon.
Yeah.
We would know her, at least I knew her from the terrible Transformers movie with Mark Wahlberg. She played his daughter, and she was also the adult Dora in that live action Dora from a couple of years ago.
The one that looked like a porno.
Yeah. Celeste O'Connor as Maddie Franklin. She was the third of the 3 young women.
Yeah.
We saw her in Ghostbusters Afterlife a couple of years ago. She was actually decent in that. And then Goo, the villain in this, who we'll get to when we get to spoilers, Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims. It's a toss-up. You could go either way. He might have been worse than Dakota Johnson.
He was. No, he was.
It's fucking amazing.
He was terrible.
He was so bad that I have never seen. No, I'm not going to say that because sometimes the villains have been butchered by things outside of the acting. I have never seen a villain get acted this poorly. And it doesn't help him that no one knows who the fuck he is in the first place, but this might be the worst comic book villain of all time. He also was apparently in a Napoleon last year. I haven't seen him in anything. And then a couple other characters we get here, Goo, that are notable. Adam Scott plays Ben Parker. Actually good. One of 2 people in this movie that was good. The other person I'd say was good was Isabela Merced. I thought she did a good job. Emma Roberts plays Ben's sister, Mary Parker, a.k.a. Peter Parker's mother, and she's pregnant in this movie, Goo.
Did you see the bridal shower? I'm sorry, did you see the baby shower?
Right. That was a
that
nice
scene
touch.
was horrible.
Real bad. Real bad.
Like, I would say once you realize that Cassandra did not want to participate in your baby games, just stop. Like, you 2 aren't the only 2 at the party. Talk to someone else.
I read online somewhere, or I heard someone say it. I've been consuming a lot of media revolving around this. They said that Dakota Johnson acts as if she's like being held hostage, and it's very true.
Well, do you have any memories of you and your mom? Yeah, my mom's dead.
By
somehow, the way, when she said that, my theater laughed.
Somehow they got Mike Epps to sign up for this movie. He plays O'Neill, like the head of the paramedic squad. And then we also have Zosha Mamet. You would know her from the show Girls. She's actually very good in that show. She plays the villain's like person at the desk, and she's
the
very
magical desk with like 6 computers. Number 1, get more computers. Number 2, that thing, whatever they were using, it could just do anything, whatever they wanted.
That was the whole point of that.
I cannot. Okay, before we start talking, before we do any spoilers, do you recommend this movie?
Well, let's go.
Well, I need to talk about that effing computer for a second.
No, let's run through this, and then we'll talk about the computer in 5 minutes.
I'm gonna forget about the computer.
You could just say it now, and there's no spoilers here, Goo.
Just
There's nothing to spoil in this
Do
movie.
the box office. Do the box office.
All right, so box office performance, Goo. This is the worst opening weekend for a Sonyverse movie so far. It made $25.8 million domestically, but that was over a 5-day run. Remember, this opened on Valentine's Day. Ended up making almost $52 million worldwide, which is fucking mind-blowing. It was number 2 at the box office behind that horrible Bob Marley movie. Couldn't even beat that. That doubled it up at the box office. So that's real bad. This is gonna lose money by a lot.
Yeah, it's bad. It's real bad. How many people were in your theaters? And you saw it on the Thursday. So
I saw it
pretty
on the
much opening
Thursday
day.
at 4:30 p.m. So a reasonable
Little
time.
early,
Some
but
people out
little
at work.
early. Yeah.
I believe I had 4 people in my theater.
I saw it on Sunday night, 7:10, and it was the final showing of the day. And I would say my theater was a quarter filled, possibly.
Wow, it's actually a decent amount.
And also, when the movie ended, little smattering of applaud.
I will say this: we just saw Argyle a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had 2 people walk out of Argyle. No one walked out of this movie.
I will say this though: I think the people that cheered at my theater worked on the movie.
Possibly.
Because they stayed for the entire credit and they were pointing at names during the credits.
Yuck. Don't like that. Don't like that. Goo, you want to get through the gauntlet here?
Sure. Hey, Mac. Fun factor. How much fun did you have? And I had a blast at the end of this movie.
I'm glad you said at the end because, Goo, there's not an ounce of fun in here. The climax, the final 15 minutes does get laughably bad. I'll give you that. It's not fun, though. It just wasn't angrily bad. So that's really it.
I also couldn't believe how many times they tried to shoehorn the word power and responsibility into
like, at least 3 times.
We get it.
Yeah. Fucking
Please.
terrible.
Satisfactor. I was quite satisfied. Even when it was boring, they were giving me little nuggets. I'm like, that's going to play later. And then it didn't. But what they gave us was even better.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing in here. They wouldn't even say the fucking name Peter, Goo. They wouldn't even give us that.
They were flashing back.
Ugh, so bad.
Borometer. Yeah, it was super boring, but it paid up for it. Because once they hit into gear, once they finally said, fuck it, this is where all of our money is, and we wasted it, that's where it's great.
I have never had a theater experience on this level. The first 35 minutes nearly killed me. The closest thing, again, I can point to was that Hellboy movie in which I leaned to you and say, I think I want to leave, but we were going to talk about it, so I had to stay. I don't know what kept me in this theater, but yeah, this movie nearly killed me.
Halloween. Will this movie go down or up over time? And I am quite satisfied with the hot dog score I have ready.
You know what? The one credit I'll give this movie is it's so bad it can't win or wean because it's already at the bottom. It's at the very bottom.
I can't wait till I can watch it for free because I'm going to watch it again. Almost immediately, actually. Aquator. It's below Aquaman, but if you said to me right now, Goo, what do you want to watch again right now? I'm going to pick Madam Web.
Jesus Christ. You like fucking waterboarding, I guess.
I do.
I've seen some movies over the last few years that I haven't liked. Some I've hated, some I downright get angry about. This was the worst of the worst. It's not only below the equator, it's below the depths of Hellboy.
Pants Tent City. Excite Bike Mania. What got you going in this movie?
To have Sydney Sweeney in your movie, Gil, a woman who I've spent hours looking up on the internet, and to not deliver a pants tent at any moment is insanity. It's almost impossible.
You didn't like her dancing on the table?
It's nearly impossible.
Yeah. That table dancing scene. No one's ever done that.
I don't know. And I can't even I don't know where to begin with that.
A movie that featured Sydney Sweeney and played Toxic couldn't get Mac going.
Have you ever been, now, we were 15, 16, 17 once upon a time. Have you ever been in a situation where you newly met females, males, anyone, where their first thing they did was dance on a table?
I just said that no one has ever danced on a table.
Yeah, there you go.
That has never happened. Max Credit Union, who are you giving credit to?
Listen, I'm a union guy through and through. I hope 90% of the people involved in this movie never work again. I hope they get fired. I hope they lose their jobs.
I hope they get busted. I hope they get union busted.
Credit to whoever will now get a job because those people won't. So credit to those people.
Credit to whoever casted this movie. Like the person that convinced all of these people to be in this movie.
A real parcel tongue.
Yeah. So, hot dog man does whatever a hot dog can. I'll let you go first because I got like 3 words for this.
Dude, I'm flabbergasted. I'm dumbfounded. I truly cannot believe how bad this fucking movie is. Like, I was trying to think of not just comic book movies, but all-time bad movies, and I'm having a hard time beating this one. Some that came to mind were, and this is like not The Room, like those B-level movies. I'm taking those like movies that are trying to make money. Let's say, I thought of the Dragon Ball Z movie that came out in like 2007 with Emmy Rossum. That was pretty fucking bad. How did that bubble?
What is happening right now? Sorry, if you aren't watching on YouTube, what just happened was great. Matt gave a thumbs up, and then his computer
in StreamYard. That was incredible.
That was great. That
Dragon Ball Z movie with Emmy Rossum.
Yeah.
The M. Night Avatar movie adaptation, that's fucking all-time bad. If you want to talk strictly comic book movies, this might be the worst of all time. I thought about Catwoman. Catwoman is fucking horrific, but you get like 4
really
laugh out loud movies.
That's really comparable though. It's really comparable.
The basketball scene alone puts that over Madam Web because that made me laugh.
That's because we haven't even mentioned how this movie ends yet.
A couple others I thought about, and these are more ones that had like a serious tone, like this movie does. Elektra, that's pretty fucking bad. Maybe Elektra is worse than this. I don't know. And then the other one, Fant Four Stick, the one that wasted Michael B. Jordan, that incredible cast, that is probably worse than this because
Fant Four Stick feels more like Morbius, where it's just boring throughout.
No, because they waste Dr. Doom so bad in that movie that it knocks it down so far. So maybe that's the worst of all time, but it also still might be Madam Web. It's just, I don't know. It's an interesting conversation to have. Actually, that's one of Dork's episodes this week. I don't know, Goo. I'm giving this 2 hot dogs for the amount of characters that I thought did a good job. That was Adam Scott's Ben Parker and Isabela Merced's Anya Corazon. 2 hot dogs.
So you're actually giving it a higher score than I am because I believe giving something in the single digits really says this is an unwatchable piece of shit. I'm giving it 0 hot dogs because once you hit that 0, it's so bad that it's good, and I had a blast watching this.
Can I just push back on that for a little bit?
No,
there are bad movies, horrible movies, so bad they're good, they go past horrible, and then they go into so bad they're still really, really bad, and this goes beyond so bad it's good.
Around almost every turn of this movie, I was having a good time.
Stunning to me. That's
and
absolutely
even
stunning.
Saying that, like I was having a fun time at the beginning trying to figure out why she's like this. Like, why is she such a horrible person to everybody? Why can't you act like a normal person? A child gives you a hand-drawn color and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? I don't know. Put it in your fucking pocket.
And that also calls into question like her very first scene, which we'll get to now. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Good, do you have anything before I run through the horrific happenings of this movie?
No, I'll just interject when I have to.
All right. This movie, for some reason, like we said, is set in 2003, but that has absolutely no bearing on the movie whatsoever.
So I've actually seen that they were going back and forth between either making it set in 2003 or 1993, and they just settled on 2003, but that was in the middle of the movie. So a lot of this could have happened at any time.
Christ. And also, by putting it in 2003 means you rule out it being in the Raimi-verse and trying to save stuff.
Put your epic fingers down.
I try to count. That's awesome.
Don't use your thumb.
It rules out this being in the Raimi-verse. It also rules out it being in the Garfield universe because it's set too late.
Yeah.
So it's obviously not connected to the Tom Holland movies. So now you're telling me there's a 4th Peter Parker that they didn't even want to name?
No, but
like,
also by putting it in 2003. So her vehicle of choice in this movie is a stolen, busted up cab that she takes the license plates off of, and she also leaves the cab number on the top, which
can scrape that off.
for what? Well, fucking unscrew it. I don't know. Figure it out. But at one point in this movie, she parks it at an airport for roughly a week and no one says shit. This is in 2003. 9/11 just happened. No one's going to say anything.
I was thinking the amount of times I thought about 9/11 during this movie, that alone makes this the worst movie of all time. Yeah.
What? This movie makes you think of 9/11.
100%. So I was like, there's no way this would happen normally in 99 or 2000. Post 9/11, none of this is happening in New York City.
While she's doing this with the cab, she's wanted for kidnapping.
Oh, don't get all right. Let's get going here because that was fucking ludicrous too. So the movie opens in 1973 in the Peruvian Amazon with Cassandra Webb's scientist mom looking for some specific spider she's heard about. She has hired this personal security guard that just like follows her around. And once she finds a spider, he turns on her, and the only thing she can say is he's made a bad decision.
Her reaction to finding the spider was hilarious too. I found the spider. I found it. She's like running back and smiling and singing.
Like McLovin, I got a boner.
And especially finding out why she wanted the spider was to save her baby. Like, why not run back? Like,
keep it under wraps.
Like, what are you doing?
Yep, for sure. And then during their conversation in this open, you hear about las arañas, which I guess means like spiders in Spanish or whatever it's called. And then these fucking spider people descend out of the trees and snatch her up. I thought it was like a hallucination. That was real.
She poo-poos this when he brings it up.
Yeah.
But then when Madam Webb is reading about it later, it's written about in great detail by her mother. So was her mother just, like trying to get him off the scent?
Maybe some time had passed when we were in 1973 that we missed. I don't know. You're right. That's a good point.
The mother was dead.
And then Mama Webb gets snatched up. They jump through the trees, and then we end up in this little pool, and she's laying there about to give birth to Cassandra Webb. And these fucking people put the spider on Mama Webb's chest and let the spider bite her, and she dies 8 seconds later. So what's the fucking point of giving her the spider when the baby was just born?
Because you might let a spider bite a baby. You got to let you bite the mother, and then the umbilical cord feeds it.
No, because she dies so quickly. There's no juices flowing through the umbilical cord goo. The baby doesn't get any of that. So that right there, the origin doesn't even make sense.
Have you ever
spider never
would have
gotten to Cassandra?
It's a magic spider.
Oh God, so fucking dumb.
And then also
have the spider bite the baby. That's it.
When the guy pulls out the baby, he's like, she's strong, and I'll be here someday when you need to talk to me.
Yeah.
And then when she comes back to Peru later, there's only one guy there, and it looks like he works in IT.
He makes this whole speech about he's going to look over her. She returns to Peru and somehow finds the fucking spot that she was supposed to find.
She returns to Peru with just a map that her mother drew.
And she's got this little knapsack. She's walking through the fucking Amazon, like the deadliest place on the planet. She just has a knapsack and
was she gone for 3 days? 4 days?
I have no idea.
They were at Ben's house for how long?
It's probably close to
less than a week.
Probably close to a week. Yeah. And then she has these visions, finds out her mom didn't hate her. Her mom loved her. Wow, what a fucking revelation that is. And then this fucking Las Arañas guy gives some fucking backwards term on the with great power comes great responsibility. He flips
I have it. It is, what does he say? He says, when you take on the power, great responsibility will come.
Come on with that. Come on with it. Fucking Christ. Meanwhile, while she's there, the 3 Spider Women back home are fucking around with Ben Parker and give him some bullshit about, oh, you're the uncle, so you don't have the responsibility. Like, there's another turn on it. Like,
it is. And also, it's so funny that, so she's like, wait, so what are my powers? I was able to just go back in time and hug my mom.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much like, I don't know. I don't know.
But
I don't know.
One thing you can
They're
do.
literally whatever the story needs.
It's limitless, but one thing you can do is be in multiple places at once. Just remember that. And you're like, oh, I guess we'll see that again.
But also,
Fucking
okay,
terrible.
so speaking of visions and, looking into the future, Ezekiel having his dreams of these Spider Women, which, by the way, at no point in the movie do any of the 4 dress in costume.
That was one of the things that, like, you get mad at after the fact. During the runtime, you're so caught off guard with everything else. At the end of it, you're like, what the fuck? We saw 0 Spider-Woman suits. The only things we saw were in visions. It was like 30 seconds total.
But also, so he has these dreams of these 3 Spider-Women killing him. And he was able to describe this to someone. And then they said, let me de-age these 10 years.
He had a
and
great
it's going to
artist.
look like these 3 children.
He signed up the right person, apparently.
And that woman, they have what, 8 computers?
Something like, no,
it should be a wall of like 20, 30 computers that are constantly
she's
moving.
Got what fucking Lucius Fox had in the
It
Dark
should be
Knight.
what Lucius Fox has.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's essentially what they have, but whatever.
So, like, there's such an easy way around this. Zeke was bitten by a spider, right? Like, Zeke got his powers from being bitten by a spider.
You would think, yeah.
So, what? Like, maybe he should have these visions. And then while he's walking down the street, because you know how they all live in the exact same fucking place?
Yeah, same borough
Maybe
of New York.
He has spider senses that say, this is the girl that's going to kill me.
I don't know. We'll get to the NSA stuff in a minute because I have so many things I have to go over here to point out how ridiculous.
And also, why did that NSA lady want to have sex with him? He walked up to her.
She works so hard at NSAing, you know? She's going to fuck every once in a while.
Oh my God.
All right. We're back in 2003. Her mom's dead.
Also, why didn't
Save
shut up. Why didn't the 3 Spider-Women eventually kill him anyways? Like, maybe they found a way to kill him. Why does Madam Web's like, no, we're interconnected. I'm the one who's always supposed to. No, just what?
I don't know.
What?
You could ask a million questions about the movie. It's fucking insane.
The story doesn't make any sense.
Is horrible. All right, so we're back in 2003. Now we finally meet Cassandra Webb, and she's with Ben Parker. They fucking drive. They're paramedics. They drive an ambulance together. They show them driving to an accident. And this first like 40 minutes of emergency stuff and EMS stuff drove me insane. Now, I think this happens with everyone when their job or their like expertise, when they're watching something on screen and it's relative to that, they get turned off very quickly. Like, I can't watch shows about like Chicago Fire. Can't watch that because it's fucking stupid.
Can you watch Dallas Fire?
That type of shit. There's so much wrong in this movie with simple EMS stuff. And I know it's set in 2003, so standards were different. But even if you go back to then, none of it makes sense.
Do you think it was just to be like show that she does have compassion because she has that job?
No, because it almost makes her come off as an even worse person that she's doing this. She doesn't give a fuck about the people.
Do you think it was just so that she would know how to do CPR? That's specifically it?
They show these people pulling up to an accident. The standard protocol in any city, state, or country for probably 60 years now is police, fire, EMS. There's just their one ambulance on this massive bridge in the middle of the city. And it's just them dealing with this fucking like 4-car wreck. Now there's this one car hanging over the fucking bridge, and they're like trying to help the people out of the car. She yogs over
one guy,
there.
but yes.
I think they helped.
No, it was one guy. Whatever it is, but they had to cut him down.
So this act, her getting in the car and cutting him out, would make so much sense for someone that's destined to be a hero, someone that's compassionate about people, someone that likes people. However, when you watch the first 15 minutes of this movie, you realize she fucking hates everyone and everything. So she would never do that. She would never do that. So the whole premise of the movie, like you said, makes no sense. The whole reason why the shit jumps off for her makes no sense. It would never happen. She would never put herself in harm's way. That would never fucking happen. And then on top of it, the fucking car falls into the river from a substantial height. She's now submerged with the vehicle in the fucking whatever river, Hudson.
She was under for 3 minutes.
She's out there for a long time. No other response gets kicked up. No dive team, no police, no fire department. The vehicle is now in the water, and there's still no extra emergency people there. And apparently, Ben Parker dives off the bridge, dives down into the water, pulls her out of the vehicle, somehow gets her up onto the side under the bridge, which isn't just a shore. He would have had to rock climb with her. Then he does CPR to her for 3 seconds. She immediately comes back, and they just have like a regular conversation. I couldn't fucking believe it. I couldn't.
Okay, so first off, Ben Parker is Adam Scott. So let's picture Adam Scott doing that, which is even funnier.
Right.
But also, what I like to think too is that So he dove in there to save her, and he pulls her out. And then the first thing that she should have said is, "Oh, where's the guy that we just saved? Oh, he's fucking dead. I left him on the side of the road."
On top of it, because no one else responded, apparently that guy's still up laying on the road because Ben Parker fucking dived into the river.
He's floating over there. He fell off the bridge too.
He's dazed. He stumbled into the river as well. He died.
Oh,
so then
God.
shortly after this, we move on to the whatever barbecue party they're having there. We meet Ben's sister, Mary Parker, aka Peter Parker's mother, played by Emma Roberts. She was fine. She's very pregnant in this. Like, they're like, "Oh, when you do, pretty soon." We later get that shitty line about,
oh, and by the way,
no responsibility.
Her powers of like seeing into the future really quick and then coming back or going back in time, whatever it is like an SNL sketch. It was called Ed Glosser Trivial Psychic, and it was Christopher Walken who would touch you and he could see into the future like 1 minute. And every time it was like, "You're going to burn your mouth on a hot cup of coffee." And that's all I can think about the entire movie.
It doesn't help that I'm like still getting over this sickness that fucking is playing into my hate for this movie.
There's a sign. It says "slippery when wet," but it's actually dry. You can walk on it.
Gil.
Yes.
They got called away from this barbecue to this at the fireworks facility. They all gotta go.
I thought the captain, what the fuck his name is, was gonna like get blown up or something like that. He backs up and gets T-boned immediately.
They cut to this fireworks factory scene. And they show Dakota Johnson doing CPR on some dude just laying on the ground by herself. No one's helping her. There's a man apparently in need of CPR, and no one's helping her. Incredible. He then makes a miraculous recovery.
I think is that she says, "You're good," and just walks away.
This is now 2 for 2 in CPR. Dude, I have done CPR, I don't know, 100 and something times in my life now, maybe less, whatever it is. You don't save damn near anyone. Never mind go for 2 for 2 like in a week. Oh, that was unbelievable. Yeah, so then she does 8 seconds of CPR. He's cool, and she's just like, "Hey, can you guys take care of this guy?" Nope, that doesn't happen. There's no transfer of care there. She needs to go with him to the hospital because she has this vision of O'Neill dying in a fucking car accident. So then she has this horrible conversation with Mike Epps, and then he gets into an ambulance for no reason. There's no one in his ambulance. They don't tell him to go to a hospital. He just drives away from the scene for no reason. Fucking incredible. He gets T-boned. Now he's dead. More
but also,
CPR.
Immediately, like I thought that he was gonna, because they were at a firework factory. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe he's gonna get a firework to the head, Final Destination style. No, he just gets T-boned.
No, and then CPR again. We've now seen CPR 3 times in the first 30 minutes of this movie. And then we also, in the meantime, somewhere in here, I forget exactly where it falls in, we get introduced to the villain Ezekiel and his swanky New York City apartment and his right-hand lady. Goo, again, we talked about it briefly. As bad as Dakota Johnson always is, and especially in this movie, I think this guy is worse.
This guy's the worst.
He does a worse job than her. This villain is a fucking atrocity.
Did he get this suit?
Great question. Great question. I have no idea.
Like, we've asked this question before in Venom, because Venom he's supposed to look like that because he sees how Peter Parker looks, and then he decides to look very similar. So that gets very confusing too.
Well, it would make sense if his suit looked like this, if he was basing it off Spider-Man.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Spider-Man doesn't exist.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
There is no Spider-Man.
It's insane.
And also, if this guy exists, right? If this guy who appears to be a Spider-Man, later on, 18 years later, 16 years later, when there is a new Spider-Man, everyone would treat the Peter Parker Spider-Man as being an absolute havoc because of this other poisonous piece of shit that was around 20 years ago.
It's a great point. It's a great point. Now, as you were talking about that, I thought, you know what? Maybe he saw the suit in a vision, whatever. But that's besides the point. Sometime after this fireworks factory thing, we get Zeke. I'm gonna call him because he doesn't deserve his full name.
I'm in for Zeke.
He pulls the NSA chick at the bar. They're home.
Ballet. Opera.
Oh yeah, wherever the fuck they were.
He walked into an opera and picked up a lady
from the front row. He just poisons her by a touch, and I'm like, this is fucking stupid. It was at that point where I'm like, this is the dumbest shit ever. So he steals her NSA badge.
You should have walked in knowing that. What are you doing?
No, because in my mind, I thought this movie's going to be really bad I don't think it could be worse than Morbius. And the fact that it's like 20 times worse than Morbius blows my mind, Goo. It just blew my mind. And so again, he kills this woman to steal the NSA tech. That's why we have the Lucius Fox situation. And then, Goo, they finally weave these 4 women together. And the way they do it is so fucking stupid. So the story of this movie is that Zeke has a vision that these 3 girls are going to murder him. So he's got to kill them first. On top of that, Cassandra Webb, Dakota Johnson, also has a vision of Zeke killing these 3 women. And she decides she needs to do something about it. So they just put them all in the subway because they have no idea how to figure it out. Also, her premonitions
don't make any sense timing wise. Like, it's not like she saw all 3 of them at the same time having this issue. It was one by one. So, like, while she was having this 3rd premonition, the first one should be dead.
Yeah, you're right. The timing makes no sense about how.
Also, did you see the guy with a PSP in 2003?
I did notice.
Do you know what year the PSP came out?
Oh, it was after that?
2005.
I did notice the PSP. I just figured
it was a Sony movie. Don't you guys know when your shit came out?
Jesus Christ. They went out of their way to show that guy with the PSP. That's fucking funny. So eventually these 3 get attacked by fucking Spider-Boy in the subway, which is surely witnessed by dozens, if not hundreds of people. They manage to escape. They steal that fucking cab. And within 8 seconds of being in the cab, Goo, a fucking radio station cuts in with a breaking news report that Cassandra Webb assaulted the cops and kidnapped the girls. How in the fuck would that have been reported that quick, number one, but also that it got reported as her?
The only way that would have made sense and been awesome and also would have tarnished his legacy is if that was J.K. Simmons.
They did allude to, what's the paper that he owns?
The Daily Bugle.
They did allude to the Bugle.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, make him the Alex Jones character again.
Yeah. So then they're like, we got to get out of here. They drive to the middle of fucking nowhere, and she just leaves them there for like 8 hours. So predictably, you know they're not going to stay there. And again, Goo, this is all not day one stuff, but the first day they come together, there hasn't been a second day yet. Right? So keep that in mind. That subway thing happens. They drive out to the middle of nowhere. This is all the same day. So these girls then hike over to a diner. In the diner, Goo, again, not a new day. The man sitting in the diner has a newspaper with the 3 people.
You don't remember in 2003 when there were newspaper boys on the sidewalk selling the afternoon specials?
Incredible. A newspaper with the missing people from that day, from the middle of the day. That was the dumbest thing in the whole movie. How did that get overlooked? That was so fucking stupid. So dumb. Anyway, she fucking flies back from Peru. The car able to get the cab out of the fucking airport after 9/11.
No, but Peru happens later in the movie. She goes to the diner and she hits Zeke with the car. One of multiple times that Zeke is smashed by a car.
This is number 1. He gets got by the cab.
How does he die by a letter falling on him after getting smashed by cars several times?
Sense.
How strong is he? What is her power set? What are these girls able to do? How do they become Spider Women?
Valid questions. All valid questions. Goo, they escape the diner. They go to this motel, yada, yada. This is when she decides to go to Peru because she needs answers, Goo. You know, she's got to figure out what her mom
before she goes to Peru, she gets a hotel room with the girls.
Mm-hmm.
They bond. She actually thinks about leaving them there.
She teaches them CPR.
She's like, I might not be right for this, but then she's like, no, I have to protect these girls. She teaches them CPR, and then while they're talking, they all like at the same time are like, you have to go to Peru.
So she does. She drives this cab that's been reported as stolen. It's got no plates. She drives it all the way to the airport.
She took the plates off the cab. I was like, okay, is she going to put a different set of plates on there? Is she going to swap cars?
Right.
Is she going to do something cunning to not be driving a clearly stolen cab? And not even in New York. So if it's just driving around the outskirts, if it's near New Jersey, someone's going to look at that and say, that's a fucking stolen cab.
The odds of getting pulled over in a cab with no plates and severe front end damage is pretty fucking good, especially when you pull into a New York City airport post 9/11. So she pulls in, parks it, goes to Peru, fucking takes a bus to the middle of nowhere, Peru, gets out of the bus and just starts gallivanting through the
It
Peruvian
wasn't
Amazon.
a bus. It was a single engine plane. She was.
Oh, bus to plane. Yeah. There was two. There was both. She's in Peru, and somehow from one photo near a river, which, by the way, I don't know if anyone remembers this, in the Amazon, there's a thing called the Amazon River. Pretty fucking big. A lot of trees by the river. She gets to the exact spot that's in her mother's photo, and then fucking Las Arañas shows up. This is
One
so
guy.
dumb.
One guy.
Yeah, she meets Tree Guy, figures out she can be a hero. Her mom didn't hate her. She gets back to New York City, still has the cab, and she gets back with immaculate timing, Goo, because now Mary Parker's in labor. They're on their way to the hospital.
Oh, wait. In 2003, if you saw someone with a cell phone, would you have lost your mind like Sydney Sweeney did?
Not 2003. No, like 96 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like she pulls it. Would you have a phone?
For a young person to have a phone, I would say, yeah.
Well, they're in their teens.
Yeah.
In
Not too many
2003,
teens had
there were
phones.
several people in our 8th grade class that had the chirps.
The Nextels.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. No, I would say probably a quarter of kids might have had cell phones in 2003. So anyway, she gets back while fucking Zeke is chasing them through the streets of New York City. She commandeers a New York City ambulance, drives it in. And this fucking drove me insane too. This is like, maybe I'm dumb for being concerned about this. If you go into a parking garage, it is very clear which vehicles cannot fit into a parking garage. I would venture to say maybe 1% of the parking garages on the planet could fit an ambulance inside. She happens to find the one that could fit an ambulance. She zooms around, pops out the second or third floor, and again hits Zeke with a fucking vehicle.
That was the one. So, like, I bought all the way back in when she went to Peru. At this point, when she popped out of the side of that parking garage, that's when I, edge of my seat, eyes wide open, like, okay, we have finally made it. This is what we've been working our way up to this entire movie. And at this point, moving forward, the rest of this movie is fucking gold. The rest of it is amazing.
15 minutes for me to giggle at something. They escape the fucking ambulance situation. They lure Zeke to the fireworks factory. And Goo, get this. This is their master plan by the clairvoyant Madam Webb. They're going to blow up the fireworks factory with Zeke in it, but somehow they're going to be able to get off the roof and jump onto a helicopter. That's the fucking plan. The
fireworks also had random capabilities as well. Like some of them
that's what fireworks do.
I know, but like it's as if she knew which ones were going to do what.
Which stacks had the fucking Roman candle.
Like the one that blew through the wall, I was fucking dying. And then, oh my God, on the roof of the building, she had the shield and she was blocking fireworks.
Oh God. Yeah. So then inevitably, obviously, they get trapped on the roof. Zeke has them right where they want them. All three girls are hanging. Madam Webb is backed up against the fucking sign. And you're like, oh, no way to get out of this. Wrong. Remember the foreshadowing from earlier?
He says to her, you got to pick one. And then Batman said, wait a second. We did this in Batman Forever.
Yeah, we did this in The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
We did this in Spider-Man fucking No Way Home. We did this in a million movies.
Dakota Johnson said, joke's on you. I can split into 3.
Yep. And then
that's what spiders do.
This decently sized piece of metal falls on Zeke. But remember, he's an enhanced human here. So he should be able to lift this piece of metal that is somehow keeping him down. And then he gets fucking dragged in to the explosion as she gets thrown off the building.
He has been hit by many cars.
It's like pretty clear. He's at least displayed enough that we know he'd be able to move that piece of metal.
He is a poisonous, less web-slinging Spider-Man, pretty much.
Yeah, maybe not as strong as Spider-Man, but he's picking up people with choke slams here. He's fucking clearly real strong. So he falls into the fire. She falls into the water again, and then they go out of their way to show one. It would make a little more sense if there was like 300 fireworks blasting into the water. One firework blasted into the water. She apparently didn't see that. And the fucking firework blitzing by her in the water blinds her. And you don't even realize that until like a full minute later. You're like, what?
Also,
then,
the CGI, whenever they show her with like the webs going around her,
yeah, it
dear
was flash
Lord.
level. It was
Oh,
flash
speaking
level.
of the CGI, by the way, the spider people jumping around in this movie
So bad.
looked horrible.
So bad. So bad. It was
That's the
flash level.
that was the one action that they did in this movie, and they
Yeah.
couldn't pull it off.
Couldn't do it. And then, Goo, guess what? She's in the water, gets pulled out again by the 3 girls. And wouldn't you happen to know it? They now know CPR from that previous scene,
Oh
foreshadowing.
yeah. Hell yeah.
So you remember she taught them that, and
Hell
that
yeah.
was one of the 60 awful scenes in the movie. So they bring her back. We see she's apparently fucking blind. Cut to her in the hospital room. They're there for 10 seconds. And finally, Goo, we get to the closing scene of the movie. They're in this fucking top floor apartment in some old
I thought to
decrepit
myself
building.
heading into this scene, how can they top what they just did? And the dialogue in this scene was phenomenal.
It wasn't
Compound
until
chicken, how did you know? She has a fucking nose.
it wasn't until she splits into 3 that I laughed a little bit. And then this scene, this to me was the only real scene that was so bad it was good.
And
So
then she's on that super high wheelchair with these little itty bitty glasses on. She looked like a mix of Cyclops and Professor X with this fucking just bland oatmeal face, just going around. Hello, girls. How are you?
these girls bop into the apartment like they're having the best day ever. And she's just sitting there like so happy as can be. And you're like, hold on a second. Like, yeah, she looks bad, but wait.
Her smile is like this. It's like, it's barely, she can't smile.
But we're like, hold on a second. When did she get paralyzed? Why is she paralyzed? Why is she wheelchair bound? They didn't explain that. There was no fucking rhyme or reason
You know what
behind
else is
that.
great too? When she goes, you know what's great about the future? We don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then you get the Kung Pao chicken. It's perfect. How'd you know? Bless you. Oh, great. And
Oh,
yeah,
I forgot about that too.
yeah, she with that line you said with the future.
Now
She-
you're showing off.
They show
I
her.
guess.
She spins her wheelchair around and rolls towards the window and looks out into the window pane into that
Like
little
this
future scene. Oh, so horrible. And then, so just to summarize here, Goo, Madam Webb's power, the whole premise of this movie is she has these premonitions. She's clairvoyant. She can see in the future. She saw these 3 women's deaths. She prevented it. They show other shit happen in the future. So she is fully aware that Ben and Mary Parker, 2 of her best friends, are going to die. And she's just going to let it happen.
They even talk about it. The girls say to him, oh, he's going to have a lot of fun. Or they might have said to him, being an uncle, it's all the fun without the responsibility. And then Dakota Johnson gives this dumb smirk like, that's what he thinks.
It's fucking unbelievable.
Like, you know this is going to happen.
She like brags about his death.
Yes.
It's insane. There's no reason, based on the movie I just watched, that she can't prevent those deaths. There's fucking no reason.
Or at least
no
attempt to.
Especially in a universe that's not even going to have a Peter Parker, so you don't need Uncle Ben to die. Fucking Christ. Goo, final thought here. Final thought. Again, alluded to this earlier. After all that blew down, and I had seen this on the internet before I went and saw it, but it didn't hit me until I was sitting in my car. We get this movie about these 4 Spider Women and literally never see them in the suits. They're never in the suits. You get like 2 flash forwards. It's fucking insane. It's insane to tease that the way they did. It's so fucking stupid. So dumb.
I just don't know why those 3 are Spider Women. Like, how
Right.
did
They never explain why these 3 are
like
chosen.
maybe at some point, like Dakota Johnson bleeds on them or something, and then like that's how maybe not something as crass as that, but like, but like
all their periods sync up, and that's how they become
Mac,
Spider-Man.
come on. We have a submission from the writer Jeffrey McNamara on how they're going to become
My rib hurts
superheroes?
from that laugh.
but, no, but like maybe give a hint toward like how do they become Spider Women? Because like this was planned to have multiple movies in this sequence of movies, but
They
this doesn't.
very easily could have. The only thing they allude to is that they all come from like kind of broken homes, but like that's like not a good enough reason these days because every hero has that shit. So you're right. They should have given you a reason. Goo, do you want to hear what's next for Sony? what they have in the pipeline here?
Before we do that, the exact line of the best thing about the future, it hasn't happened yet.
Cut to her floating around the three of them, and you're like, what are we doing?
Like the giant Oakleys.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God.
Like a fucking scarecrow.
Christ. Not for nothing, too. Sydney Sweeney's character, I think her name's Julia Carpenter or something like that. Julia something. She looks like she has some really fucking cool powers. It would have been cool to see those.
Also, you cast the hottest thing in the world.
Outside of Ana de Armas, she's the #1 person on the planet right now.
And you did that to her?
Right. What a fucking tease. So dumb.
And also, like, she is void of comedy in the movie. She's funny in other stuff.
She was great in Anyone But You. She carried the movie.
She's good in Euphoria.
She's a very good actress on top of the other very good things she has. Yes. Agreed. Agree to agree.
Okay.
Goo, here's what's next for Sony. So this year we get 2 more. And honestly, I think this is going to end after this year. We get Kraven the Hunter with Aaron Taylor Johnson, which I think will get yet another Spider-Man tease in that. And then we get, that's August 30th. Venom 3 comes out November 8th. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do for that movie, but I think after those 2 movies, they literally won't have a path forward because they won't be making money and none of the characters, there's no
keep your goddamn thumbs down.
None of the characters. Now I'll give Kraven a little bit of a benefit of the doubt. I like ATJ. None of the characters besides Venom is likable, and you don't even like Venom, so they're drawing dead.
But the Venom movies have made decent money, but that also might cap off the trilogy, so they don't need to really go further with that.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe they just start over again.
And then we get some TBDs, and these are all the things that I think won't happen outside of the. So you have Beyond the Spider-Verse. That's clearly going to happen coming out next year. Tom Holland's 4th Spider-Man movie. That'll happen, not attached to this. And the stuff they have planned in the Sonyverse, I think this
Sinister
is going to be a series.
Sinister Six?
They don't even have that planned yet. They have Silk Spider Society series. I think that was supposed to be a show. That's not going to happen. They have the Spider-Man Noir series. That might happen because that's attached to the Spider-Verse stuff. El Muerto. No idea if that's going to happen. No idea what that even is.
No, that is, so it's a Mexican wrestler with superpowers.
Oh, we talked about that.
And it's with Bad Bunny.
Okay. And then we have an untitled female cast into the Spider-Verse spinoff, which I don't think that's going to happen based off the intro we got in the last movie, but you never know. I think the Sonyverse is dead after 2024. The DC Extended Universe died in 2023. Sonyverse dies in 2024.
I think it depends on, because I know that Venom's going to make money because it's a likable character.
I don't think it is.
The last one made money.
Yeah, but it was terrible.
You and I didn't like it. The critics seemed to think it was fine.
Yeah, you're right.
I think weird. Kraven. Let's see how Kraven does at the box office because this movie
that'll be more
really underperformed.
Oh boy, did it! Yeah, boy, did it ever. I do think though. Well, I don't know though because Sony has shown that they have no idea how to do a proper scope of their movie to like keep it in line here or broaden it and then do this. It's all over the place. So probably Kraven's going to attach to 7 things and none of it's going to be good enough. You know, like they probably won't just tell one story.
I'll be completely honest. I want their Sinister Six movie.
Oh God. So
because could you imagine all of these characters that we know and hate interacting with each other?
We have Morbius, Vulture, and Venom currently. But Venom's probably
you add Kraven.
Carnage, maybe?
Bring in Zeke.
Get Zeke on a minimum deal.
Bring in Paul Giamatti.
Oh God.
You can do anything, really.
Yeah, Sony could. Because they have now finished off the anything. I'm just like, the more I think about the movie, the more I'm dumbfounded that it happened this way.
It's just so like at every turning point of this movie, it's what are her powers? Wow.
I like if you think of choose your own adventure style type of storytelling or the way someone might write a story, you get to sort of this precipice or this turning point in every story. And it happens, let's say, 10 times in a story. Each time they got to a massive moment, they made the wrong decision. They took the left turn.
I disagree.
They took the right.
I disagree.
It's fucking impressive.
I think they nailed it around every corner. I love this movie.
God, it's unbelievable.
So I will tell you, right now, of the movies that I have seen this year, this was my favorite.
It is definitively the worst movie I have ever seen in theaters, and I'm not gonna rule out that it's the worst movie I've ever seen.
Let's get into Maxac.
And Maxac could be anything. It could be a boat. And we ran out of time for echoes. So what do you want to talk about?
First things first, very glad our palette cleanser for this goo is Dune 2. We get Dune 2 this week, so I'm fucking stoked about it. I need
a
movie.
Put out a podcast. Put your thumb down.
I didn't even do a thumbs up on that one. What's going on over
Why
here?
does yours do my thumbs up? Why can't I get a little bubble?
I don't know.
What were you doing last time? You were saying that you were excited about something, and then you were getting all this cool stuff around. Oh, say congratulations.
Congratulations. Nothing happened.
Damn it. Say
all right,
happy
Goo,
birthday.
this is pretty cool.
Birthday.
No, this is pretty cool. In my sack this week, actually really cool. Our guy Fryer of the Change My Mind podcast, of the Book Boys, the hell, TLDR. He's on DraftKings. You know, he's very successful these days. Goo, you know, we've all heard of, even us who aren't comic book readers, we've all heard of the comic book writer Scott Snyder.
Yes.
Apparently, he teaches classes. Fryer is in one of those classes. And Scott Snyder's next project, called The Cloakroom, is coming out soon. And it's featuring short stories of members of his classes. The opening story in this book, called The Cloakroom, is written by Nick Fryer. And it's coming out in like a month, maybe, or something like that. It's pretty cool. His story's called The Widowmaker. The premise of it is a biker queen ascends to empress as she finally removes the organization's long festering virus, her husband. So maybe some Sons of Anarchy vibes there. I saw some of the art. It looks pretty cool. So there's a Kickstarter here. If you want an issue of this comic book, this book, whatever they're calling it, you can donate to, and I think the minimum one, you get a copy of this, and we'll share that. We'll retweet it. Dork already has. You can go to Fryer's profile to get it. But the cool thing is they've already reached their goal for the Kickstarter. So they're getting it printed, and now it's just for, if you want a copy, go donate. It's pretty cool. Cool stuff.
All right, Mac. We're in the. I've hit a point in the episode. I am just fried.
Goo,
I am fried.
You are Nick Fryer.
Yeah.
The people can find us on Twitter and on Instagram at Mac and Goo Podcast. Every other platform, we are Mac & Goo. It's Mac Shift 7 Goo. It includes Facebook, Stitcher, TuneIn, Castbox, Spreaker, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify. More importantly, we are on Apple Podcasts. Go on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars. If you do that, we'll get you a free t-shirt from the folks over at Watertown Sportswear. That's Watertown Sportswear, 34 Mount Auburn Street in Watertown. WatertownSportswear.com, expert screen printing and embroidery.
tpublic.com merch. I just held up. This is the photo that we got at one of the Comic-Cons, at one of the fan expos of UI and the Boy Meets World cast, including the other Billy D. And one day when I was at work, this was the background on my laptop. One of my older coworkers walked by and said, "Oh, is that a family photo?" And I said, "Yes. Yes, it is."
Why, yes, it is. Good. What do we got coming up at the end of the week? What do you think? Echo?
We're going to dump at the end of the week.
Maybe we do Echo, dump, Dune.
Let's go. Maybe we do dump at the end of the week, because I'm also in a very pinch for time at the end of the week.
Okay. Echo's already done, though. We can
I know.
do 30 minutes.
We also need to do our vault next week on Goose Day.
I think we can do it the next week, because we get one more week than you think.
Are you sure?
Yeah. The Oscars are Sunday, March 10th, I believe.
But the issue is that we also, our Dune episode, Dune 2, Tune, comes out on March 1st. We are recording our episode, our movie draft.
The Oscars are definitely March 10th.
Okay, because, our movie draft is also coming out the week that the Oscars are happening.
You could do it before that. We're recording the 2nd, right?
Yes.
So that you could do it.
Record and hold.
I see what you're saying.
Do you want me to record and hold?
No, we could
put it in the can.
The 2 that week could be the dump, and I mean the Gooey Vault and the draft.
So 2 3-hour episodes.
The Gooey Vault will be an hour.
My hands hurt when I have to animate live.
I mean, we can have the vault out for the Monday after the Oscars too.
No. Before.
All right. We'll figure this out.
All right. Tuesdays or Goose Days. I abuse kangaroos.
Bye.
Please flip the cassette over to side B to continue the adventure.